All right. Well, welcome back to our session this afternoon with our two amazing presenters, Executive Director Colleen Tucker from the Ohio Family and Children's First Council, and Aimee Matusik, also from Ohio Family and Children's First Council. Executive Director Tucker she is the director of this state agency that falls under Children and Family. Is that correct?
Children and Youth, Department of Children and Youth.
Children and Youth within our state here. And the Ohio Family and Children First Council has, in many ways, kind of like our reentry coalitions. They have county-based collaborative groups in each of our counties across the state. A lot of their work that we're going to learn today is around cross-system coordination. And so that they are doing it at a very high level, as I've said earlier. And so we want to learn from them. How do we go back into our communities and get with the people that we need to get with, bring about the kinds of things that we have been learning to where there is a warm handoff. It's a trusted warm handoff, that we're looking at the whole human. We're looking at all their needs, because cross-system work is really about that. It's recognizing that the person before me isn't just before me, and that's all they bring is what they have coming to me with, right? That there's other things involved. So I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves because they know themselves much better than I do. And so we will start with self-introductions and then let them educate and really guide us in how we go about building stronger collaborative environments within our communities. So thank you, Director Tucker and Aimee, for being with us. And I yield the floor to you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Reba. So good afternoon, everyone. As Reba said, I am Colleen Tucker, and I'm titled as Executive Director of Ohio Family and Children First. We are a state office within the Department of Children and Youth. And I am joined today by my colleague, Aimee. And Aimee, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Had to find the mute. Hi, I am Aimee Matusik. I am the East Regional Coordinator with Ohio Family and Children First. I cover 30 counties in Eastern Ohio. Prior to my work here, I had some community experience with the local Family and Children First Council, as well as running a diversion program in the juvenile court. So this has been a fun and exciting day for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Aimee. I will say that Ohio Family and Children First, I think this is our third year in a row that we've been able to present at this community experience, but I think this one probably we're the most excited about, because as Ms. Reba said, we're going to give you some framework and some information about the model that both at the state office and at our locals that we utilize, but then we're going to all be able to break out and have further discussion, really see boots on the ground what this can look like. So we could talk about Ohio Family and Children First and FCFC, local FCFCs for hours, but this is a crash course just in some of the work. As Ms. Reba said, we're looking at about 20 minutes. So really quick, just to let you guys know, we've actually been in statute since 1993. We have a number of statutes, about 8 of them, that reference Ohio Family and Children First, the Cabinet Council or our local Family and Children First councils. But our main one is Ohio Revised Code 121.37. So that's the one we mention here. As Reba mentioned, we have local councils in all 88 counties across the state. Some of our councils have combined with other councils, other counties, because as we know, sometimes some of our counties are resource scarce. And so they figured out how to combine and move their administrative support across multiple counties, especially if they're counties that partner really closely together. But all 88 counties currently have a council. And really our specific purpose is to help families seeking government services by streamlining and coordinating existing services for families seeking assistance for their children. And as we've all heard all day long, we have youth and young adults and families and adults that have multi-system needs And it's very, very hard sometimes to get through all the different systems, all the different programs, figure out the differences in eligibility and difference in requirements and report and all those different pieces and who to contact. And so an FCFC's real, if you take nothing from me today, it's their real responsibility is to be that traffic controller, is really to work with that family and that youth and bring all the systems and services together so that someone doesn't have to shop around to figure out where to go. And then really looking at how to holistically address the needs of that youth and families and their family. So our local FCFCs have core functions and responsibilities, and this slide says that FCFC, which is the Local Family and Children First Council. I will say at the state level, Ohio Family and Children First, we follow this same triangle, because whether you're talking about state collaboration, local collaboration, state and local, all of us, when we do these things well, we are effective in meeting the needs of the youth and the families that we're trying to serve. So you're going to see that there are 3 blue triangles here. The reason the one in the middle is red is because really, if all 3 on the outside are done well, then we can accomplish that red triangle successfully. Our most effective local family and children first councils have figured out how to make this work. So number 1, most important, engaging and empowering families. We are not doing things without them, and we are bringing them to the table. They are the experts in what their family needs and what their family is experiencing. And I'll get a little further into that as I get to the next slide. Building community capacity, whether we're talking about identifying needs of a specific youth or young adult, or we're looking at more of a systemic across county need. What are we deficient in? What do we not have available? How can we work with our partners to build community capacity to make this available? Coordinating systems and services, really looking at reduction of duplication. Do we have the same service in multiple areas, and how can we partner better? Are there certain youth and young adults and families that are never eligible because the service, all the eligibility requirements always are right below what their experiences are? How do we work together to coordinate those services and systems so that we can better utilize what is available and expand it to more individuals? And then shared accountability, no matter whether we're talking about families or natural supports or professionals at the table or any other individuals involved with that family, everyone has a responsibility and should be held accountable. And this should not, and the work and the partnership and the collaboration should not just sit within 1 or 2 individuals' responsibilities. So really quickly, kind of give you examples of when I talk about those core functions. When we look at micro, which micro is working directly with youth and families to identify and meet their needs and partner with them. Some examples of how those responsibilities play out is when we're talking about engaging and empowering families. Are we engaging the family? Are we listening to them? Are we working to build rapport with the hope that eventually that youth, young adult, or that family trust us and recognizes, as I heard from one speaker earlier today, like are you authentic? When you say you're going to do something, do you do it? And if you can't do it, are you honest with them and explain why you can't do it? You don't just try to ignore them or try to avoid the situation. Are we meeting the needs of the youth and the families, and are we addressing families as equal partners at the table? When we look at building community capacity at a micro level, looks like working with our youth, our families, our teams, identifying service and supports that were not previously available. How are we creative in blending funds, blending staff, blending supports to meet the needs of that youth and family? Coordinated systems and services. Someone in the chat and with the last presenters talked about this kind of sounds like high fidelity wraparound. Well, whether it's service coordination or high fidelity wraparound, which many of our local family and children first councils provide, which is a more intensive version of service coordination, that is really what it is. It's, as I mentioned earlier, traffic controlling, connecting families to needed service supports. Are we being strength-based? Instead of just saying, oh, these are all the things that are wrong, what are the successes? What are the strengths with that youth and young adult? What are the strengths with that family that we can build on? And then, as I mentioned, shared accountability. Everyone involved with the youth has a role and is accountable. And obviously, we want to be respectful and professional, but we also need to hold people accountable when they have committed to do things or committed to look into things and they're not doing it. Because if we don't do that, the work doesn't move forward. The service and supports for that youth do not move forward. And we are just going to make the assumption that the outcomes are not going to be what we expected. On that note, I'm going to hand it to Aimee, and she's going to talk about an example of how this has played out with a family. Because as we know, sometimes an example of a youth and how that is experienced kind of helps visualize what this looks like. Aimee?
Thank you. Next slide. So for one of the examples, and this is when I actually worked for a family and children first council in a small rural area. I was the service coordinator and director. We had received a referral from a parole officer for a youth who was 16. He was being released from a DYS facility. So the team came together. The team there you can see is listed. We really wrapped services around them. It was a family. We had school personnel, mental health provider, parole officer, myself, and then we had some staff from Children's Services and Job and Family Services. And then we also identified a mentor after we had met, a gentleman from our fatherhood initiative that we had in our community. The needs of this particular youth were med management. He needed to continue some therapy. He had expressed, he hadn't finished high school yet as he was 16, but he had expressed some interest in learning more about some career tech programming. So we had talked to the career program and was able to get him enrolled there. Also wanted to, get some more life skills. So he wanted to get a part-time job and also driver's education. So team came together, an amazing parole officer that you all have. She has since retired. I would mention her name, but I know she's retired. She contacted myself and we put together the team. She knew who she needed to have on there. Family was very interested, explained the process of what that was going to look like. So the team came together. We met a couple times in that first month. And then we met monthly for an additional 8 months, but it was as needed, I will say. But it was at minimum monthly for this particular youth. The youth was also involved as, this was his future. He was certainly old enough to play a part in it. So the team came together and looked at where is he? Where do we need to go? What supports does he need from the community and all of us at the table? So it was a very successful, the outcome for this particular youth and family. He was able to get enrolled at the Career Center. He finished his junior year, went on to a senior year. He was able to obtain a driver's license eventually. He found a part-time job, and the best part, the family developed better communication skills to help just improve the overall health of their family and this particular youth. So it was a successful family team that I was excited to be a part of. And then from there, as Colleen had just shared, the micro work, there's also the macro work. So that's the larger piece of what council is doing. So again, engaging, empowering families. There is a part of the revised code is that there's a minimum of 3 family representatives that participate on the council. And the membership is also in the revised code. It's all that your CEOs and directors of your human service programs in the communities. But we really wanted families who had been involved in one of our systems in the county. So it's, a court parent, it could have been someone involved in children's services, but their role is vital in being a part of that council and sharing their thoughts and opinions on policies as they're being discussed, what worked for their family, what could have been different, what could have been better. So And then with that, we're looking at building community capacity. So we're identifying gaps to services and supports funding. Council is mandated to develop a 3-year shared plan, and that plan addresses gaps and needs within the community. Councils have just wrapped those up and were submitted in August, just last month. So we're sorting through those. It's exciting. It's a nice process for counties to go through to really kind of pause, take a look at what are we doing, what do we have the capacity to do, what do we need, and how can we go about to fill those gaps for the families and kids in our community. From there, we're coordinating systems and services. So again, as Colleen said, the service coordination is to eliminate duplication of services across the county. We want to streamline eligibility. We want to be able to pull funds for families when they need it. And the system, and it's developing a system of care. So shared accountability. Council members have a shared responsibility to meet the needs of the youth and the family in the county. We want to improve access for community needs. It's not only the council's administrator responsibility, but it's the responsibility of the entire membership of the council. And then we're going to monitor and evaluate those programs and process. So annually, the council has to come together and review those shared priorities that they had identified in their shared plans. So those are, it's a live document. What's working, what isn't, what do we need to adjust and change as we move forward? And from that, we take our information, you go to the next slide, from from the individuals that we serve. We do have a database system, it's called Oasis, that we track and monitor the needs and services that we're funding through the council. This is another particular family that I had worked with. It was an 8-year-old that was referred to service coordination by the school. When we first met, we did, decide, there was a med management issue. We needed to have a behavior plan for this particular young lady. We needed to assist mom with some time management and just her own budgeting skills. As we met with the mom, she had shared, she was having some car issues and needed some repairs. She didn't have the funding for it, but she was also a very proud woman and was not looking for a handout. So we were able to actually help her with the car repairs. It was able to help get her and her daughter to where they needed to be. And she made payments back to the county for that. We have local funds and was able to pay those back. But through those conversations with mom, she had shared, she was very open that she never learned how to budget. She grew up in poverty herself and just wasn't ever exposed to any of those types of any time management, budgeting. It was just kind of, we're living on the fly and taken day by day. So from that, and you can see the team that we had that consisted of from this particular outcome, the mom, we were able to set her up with a budget, a financial planner that Job and Family Services had contracted with. And we required that, all families at this point had to meet with this particular person at least once to kind of take a look at what do we have coming in, what do we have going out, what kind of changes that we could make. This mom came back to the team and said, I did meet with them, but I'd really like to continue to meet with them. I found a lot of value in what they were sharing with me, and it's just something I'd like to continue. And as you can see here, the outcome, the youth ended the year with improved grades, behavior. Mom developed some skills for financial, grocery, time management. She was empowered to help her daughter and herself to have a better future. So from there, we identified the need to expand our programming that we had with the budgeting. So you can see here our budgeting expansion. We took a look at what families were asking for, what were the needs. Financial was a huge, because most of our families were in poverty. So what we were able to do was worked with Job and Family Services. We had these conversations at the larger Family and Children First Council meeting. So we had shared this is what families are reporting back. This is what they're using. And from there, the Job and Family Services Director had expanded that financial planning program, and it was made available more. We also worked with another agency, the OSU Extension Office, and they were able to put together a program on the food budgeting and tracking what we're eating and how to spread those dollars and make better, healthier choices. So it was a really exciting, I don't want to say it was all derived from this one particular family, but the mom really had made an impact with many of us. So we were able, again, as you can see here, there's the financial management, but it was really about that collaboration that with Job and Family Services, with the OSU Extension Office, with the Department of Youth Services, with that particular, or in this particular case, the parole officer. We shared funding. We pulled together our resources to help the families that we need. So it was, again, opportunity for expansion with the OSU Extension, the Job and Family Services, and it just benefited multiple families and their children in the communities. And it empowered those families to do better and make better choices. And it's always, it's available. And I believe that mom came back at some point to become a parent rep after I left on the council. So it was a good story. It was a really good success story. So with that, we have our contact information. We have an email. This is our OFCF. That's our group mailbox that any of us, multiple of us in the office, review that. Our website, if you haven't checked it out yet, it is pretty amazing. We have a lot of resources on there. How to do a referral if you're interested in multi-system youth funding, how to reach and how to contact a county's local family and children first council. That's all available. There's a map, and then there's my information as well as Colleen's.
And the only thing that I wanted to add to what Aimee said is, as she mentioned, the council, which if you look at Ohio Revised Code 121.37, it lists all the mandated entities that have to be on the larger county council. And each council is required to develop that 3-year shared plan, as she mentioned. But I did want to highlight that when we work directly with the youth, the young adults, and the families, the family has a voice in who they want as part of their team. I mean, obviously, our service coordinators will identify, hey, you know what? We think this person should probably be part of your team. You're identifying that you have this need. But the family does have a voice in that. But then that team comes together with that youth and family to develop a plan. So an individualized plan, which includes goals and measurable goals that they then will work with that youth and family on over time. It can be amended and adjusted. But really having that documentation of what they're working on, how that's being changed and adapted. Lost my words today. As the team continues to meet with that family, and that family is hopefully benefiting from the services and supports. And then that over time, the family really can see, oh, we look at where we've come from the beginning, and as we've been working, and hopefully feels empowered and feels like that as they move forward and eventually they close out a service coordination, they can then advocate for themselves because hopefully they've been given the tools and the skills to feel like they have that. That's the only thing I wanted to add. That was as I mentioned at the beginning, a crash course on the work of our councils. They obviously do a lot of amazing work, but I know we are short on time.
Thank you. Yes, and they do. And those who do coalition building work and are really, trying to coordinate at a community level, it's hard. It is hard, long, dedicated work to really make it happen. So thank you. Any questions to Aimee or Director Tucker before we give instructions on how we're going to break out into rooms? Any questions you have with any of the particular areas or steps or anything like that? Okay. Well, while I launch this poll, so we need to know from you all so that we can decide how we're going to do the breakouts. Again, we're on the fly here, just full transparency, because you never know who's in the room. We need to know who's in the room. So we're going to poll you, and please answer the poll. And the question is, what is your community context? And it is, you have 3 options, choose one only. Metro size community, which is your not your Hamiltons, but Hamilton County-ish, you know, Franklin County, Columbus, Cleveland, Cuyahoga County, those larger community spaces. Then we have a mid-size option for those, and that would be places like Butler County, where there's Hamilton, Ohio, not Hamilton County, Hamilton, Ohio, Findlay area, Athens, Akron area, those are mid-size. Mid-size here, Butler County. Thank you, Lindy. And wait for the poll. And then the rural communities, which I don't know, do I need to describe that or not? But those are the things like Jefferson County, Henry County, Huron County, Brown County. So I appreciate you all answering in Portage County, ? Bridget. With Kent being right there, I would say maybe mid-size, because you're, you know, Summit, Portage. So I would say kind of mid-size. Okay, Amy's shaking her head on that. Very good. So I am going to launch this poll. Lorain County. Any thoughts on that?
Mid.
Mid? All right. So if you need to know what category, just put it in the chat and we'll help you with that before you answer this poll. So here comes the poll, and please answer it. Montgomery County is definitely metro size, I would think. Okay. All right. So the poll is open. All right. Look at this.
I think Highland would be rural.
Okay. All right. This is fantastic. So just for your information, 35% of you are in a metro size community. 50% are in a mid-sized community. That's kind of surprising to me. And then 14% are in a rural community. A nice representation across the board. Marion County, I'd say mid-sized community space for that. So if everybody has, we have 51 of 65 people who have answered the poll. Okay, come on now, 100%. Give you another quick minute on that. So, 52 of 65. Isn't that great? We can see you all and how you're responding to things. So what we're going to do is we're going to break out into 3 different Zoom rooms. Okay, it's going to take all of our sense of navigating it. Thank you, Jill, for popping on here. Okay. So if we could also have our other 2 facilitators, other 2 facilitators, Rachel Sobitz with Relink and Tom Lukey with Northeast Ohio Reentry Coalition. And I'm sorry, 3, Diane Bricker, who's with Safe Harbors Peer Support. So we are going to post in the chat a new Zoom link for 2 of the community contexts, okay? And one of them is going to remain in here, and I'll tell you in a minute which ones. Then Rachel and Tom, wave, Rachel and Tom are going to be working with you if you are in the metro size community. Okay? If you self-identified as metro size. Then Diane Bricker and Aimee, because Aimee, a lot of Aimee's counties are rural. They're going to be working with you in the rural community space. And then Dr. Tucker and Jill will be working with you in the mid-size community space. All right. So I'm going to post in the chat. I'm going to start with the metro size community because that's the largest person. Well, that's not, it's not the largest, sorry, the second largest group, but first on my list. So what you're going to want to do is you can click on that. hoping you can click on that link and it'll ask you to leave this room and go to it, shut down, leave this room and go to that room. So that is what you're going to want to do. And from there, the facilitators are going to guide us in how we apply what we have learned all day into actually actionable things to occur. All right. Any questions to this point?
I'm gonna leave here and go to the other link, so.
Correct.
All
right, so give me- Let's a little patience so I can cut and paste that. So it will say Metro link. There's also a meeting ID and I'll leave it there for you to, you know, also it might be a good thing to grab that and just quickly paste that somewhere for your referral. All right, so there's the link, the meeting ID and the passcode. This is for the Metro community. All right. So Tom, if you and Rachel make it out of here and over there, then I know it's working. Does it allow you to do that? Tom's thinking really hard. Oh, he left. Okay, I think it worked. All right. So next we are going to post the mid-size community link in the chat. And again, if you have identified in the poll or just in your head that you are a metro-sized community, you are going to follow Jill and Director Tucker into that room. And then they'll break you out and do that. Huh?
I'm going to go open it now. I'm going to.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So metro and mid-size. And so then guess what? All the rest of you who are in this space. Oh, Aimee, did you need to? Amy's staying in the rural space. Director Tucker, you are headed with Jill. Okay, off she goes. All right.
I'm sorry, Reba, my computer completely died after the poll, but I was large side or the metro.
That's okay. So Dee, are you in the right community space?
I should be going into metro with
metro.
Yes,
okay, I will repost that for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We want to make sure people get where they need to go. Okay, there it is for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, see you later. All right. So you just click on that D for the metro link and it'll move you over. All right. Okay, so everybody in this space is within a rural, what we consider a rural community setting. All right. Yay. And so here's the fun part. You can come off being invisible. So please enable your video and join the party.
Reba, I ended up in the wrong room. Can you post the mid-size one again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Here it comes. There it is. So feel free to come off of your, come back into the space as just a regular participant. And let's see, we have 21 people. So with the 3 of us, I think we'll go into 3 breakout rooms in a little for our small group kind of stuff, okay? So Aimee and Diane, if you are you all comfortable? Are you comfortable facilitating? Do you have the script?
I'll try. I got the script. Yep.
You got a script?
Yep.
I'm finding the script.
I'm finding the script. Okay, give me a quick second. one of our facilitators had a quick question, and that also gives us time to locate our scripts. Hang with us just a minute, please, and we will get going on that. What time do we have? 3:40. Okay, all right, good to see you all. So we have developed a script for our facilitators, and we're going to break off into 3 breakout rooms and just do some guided discussion and some guided community work in this space. So, well, the first thing is just to introduce what we're going to be doing and the concept. As we learned from Director Tucker and Aimee, that there is a macro level to coordinating across systems and structures. And that focuses on the collective. Think of it as the collective reentry support system within your county or community. So the macro level is that collective reentry support system within a community or county. There's also the micro level coordination, and that focuses on each of the collectives, each of the organizations and agencies and service providers that are part of that larger collective. It's about their culture, their approaches, their processes. So in our time together, we'll be in a middle box, what we call the middle box, for both the macro. We'll spend most of our time looking at the cross coordination of services and a little bit of time in the micro level of systems coordination. I am going to just briefly share this model, and this is actually on the FCFC website. We're not going to spend any time on the statute requirements, because in that way it's kind of unique to FCFC. But we want to look at these cross-system principles here, and and then the effective practice strategies in this box. So these 2 middle boxes, when we get these things right in these 2 middle boxes, we get great outcomes over here. All right. And I'm going to put this in the chat as well. So if you want to pull it up on your own screen and have it side by side in the discussion, when we go into the breakout rooms, our facilitators can also pull it up on the screen for us to have some discussion. The other piece of that is, again, the micro level, which is this one. This is kind of organizationally speaking. Again, statutes and things like that we're not looking at. We're looking at the cross-system principles and the effective practices. Again, the principles, when we look at the principles, and some of these families as equal partners, family support, community-based, all these kind of things. These are the ways in which we approach the work, and then the way in which we practice the work, the effective strategies. So again, when we get these things right, then we have good outcomes over here. All right. And I love this. And again, I'll put it in the chat so you can download it. There's also these local level challenges and barriers. So this is a realistic model for us to look at and to use in our cross systems collaboration around reentry. And today we have learned about 2 different systems, or the youth system and the young adult system, which does have differences from the adult system. Did I say that right? Okay. So I'm going to post this in the chat first off so that you have access to it. And then we're going to break out into 3 rooms. I'll just make sure that our facilitators are in the rooms, but everybody else will be kind of randomly assigned. Give me a quick second. I have it pulled up on my screen, but of course you have to go back in and all of those kind of things. It's not where I thought it was. Oh, I'm in the wrong year of building bridges. No wonder that didn't look right. Like, where is that? Here we go. All right. So if you want to grab that, feel free to grab it for folks. before we go into the breakout rooms? All right, so we've got 13 people. This will be perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, I am going to open 3 rooms. Please accept that. I will stay in this one until everybody gets where they need to be. Okay. Actually, we'll just open 2 rooms. One will stay in here. No, sorry, you got to open 3. There we go. Duh. And let me make sure I got the people in the right spot. Moved. 3. Okay, we should be evenly divided. All right, so I'm going to open the rooms. We'll have about 20 minutes of discussion and brainstorming and planning, and then we'll come back into the larger group and do some strategizing. All right, so here we go. Please accept the room. Hold on. Give me one quick second. All right. Kyle, are you okay?
Did you have to rejoin too, Lola? I did too.
Yes.
I'm hoping Reba can send me back to my group.
Good seeing you, Tom.
Yeah, good seeing you too. Good
Thank
day,
you.
huh?
Yeah, I had to go to court in between, so we have our judicial release court session every Wednesday, so I was there for a minute.
Oh, nice.
But yeah,
I don't know if was
Okay.
Reba still on or.
he's probably engaged. My assistant, I did reach her and she said that they were in groups. They had broken out into groups, so
Yeah, I was
I think I got
facilitating the
missed.
one and my battery died, and I'm
Oh, okay.
gonna see if she
So-
can send me back.
Okay.
Oh, hey, Reba,
Yes.
can you send us back to our groups? My battery all of a sudden died. We were having a good discussion and Rachel's carrying it on for me.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yes. Hi,
Thank
Lola.
you.
Let me, I will put, I've got to do it through the chat. So,
Okay, perfect. I'll watch for it.
you are the Metro.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad you're having a good discussion. All right, Miss Lola, are you in the Metro or are you in the midsize? Okay. All right. Wow. Running out here, out of control.
I'm leaving. See you a little
All
bit.
right, thank you. There we go, Miss Lola.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a good day. Uh-oh. Did it go for you? Yeah, I'm in the dark. So not letting you leave and go into the other room, Miss Lola?
How much longer for this session, Reba?
Till 4.
Oh, so it has a minute yet. Okay, let's see if we can try it again.
Okay. Sarah, we are in small groups right now. If you want to join, if you're in a rural community, you can join me in my small group. Or there,
Leave and join.
yes, you want to leave and join.
Reba, you're muted if you were speaking with us, or at least I couldn't hear you.
Sorry, I could not figure out how to get out of my own room.
What happens?
Like what? What is happening? Why can't I leave this room? So everybody's coming back to this main room. Okay, that's good. That's cool. That's cool.
Are we in the
Very
right
good.
room?
It's all right. Very good. All right. I'm going to send a note to these other folks in the breakout rooms. Give me a second. I may have to go into the room. Technology, I love it. And now it's closing them. So, well, they'll be back in 11 seconds. So here we go. It's all good. It's all good. Tom, it's good to see you.
Well, if I could make a plug, in our session, someone mentioned those transitional skills and soft skills that young people learn transitioning out of our facility. So kudos to all of the agencies who are doing that, because we know that just because they're being released, a lot of them are still very young, young adults and learning. So
Yeah.
hats off to the people who are working on those soft skills.
That's awesome. Yes, it is. All right. So we're back in the main room together, folks. I don't know if the other metro or the mid-sized community is going to be joining us, but hey, we are back, and we've got about 10 more minutes to kind of process the small group work that occurred. And so I'm going to ask a couple questions. And again, I can put the model up on the screen really quickly. And everything, but any aha moments, I like to call them, from your small group discussions, anything that there was like the light bulb went off, and when you looked at the model, you're like, oh, that's maybe something we need to look at. So anything along those lines, any light bulb moments for anyone? And facilitators, feel free to share your discussions.
We just,
Well,
go ahead.
I know 10 minutes is very, very tight time frame to talk about a broad array. We started with housing because that's oftentimes the most critical need. And you indicated that many communities have a lack of housing stock available. And then you get into the issue of, is there enough affordable housing? We know that answer is probably no. Funding for housing alternatives, finding the funding to create master leasing models or things of that nature. When youth are coming back, if they don't have family support, family housing with family members, they're going to need housing, but they also need education and, just to be taught, what it is to be a renter. So ready to rent would be very critical for that population, to work with them. And then that's when my battery died and Rachel took over.
That's funny.
Rachel,
Well,
do you have anything else to add?
We just were continuing on that, just talking about some of the people who are currently doing excellent housing models in the state of Ohio and replicating that into other areas that may not have it, so.
And I think, this is a big elephant, right? Cross-system collaboration. And re-entry itself is a big element. So maybe for folks, one of the bite-sized pieces is to use this model to develop, right? That safe, stable housing process, that safe, stable housing network of support. So to both, Tom and Rachel, to your point, what does it look like? Like, what have you done? I know, Tom, that your county and your city has done a lot around fair and affordable housing. So are there some things on that second box around cross-system principles that you find are really good, that really need to be in place in order to move to those strategies and to get some good outcomes?
Yeah, we have done quite a bit of work in housing, and in fact, tonight we have a housing. Our candidates running for city council and for mayor. We have a housing forum that we're sponsoring to see what their goals and what they would do to help with the affordable housing issues we have. Reentry housing is a big discussion point there. But yeah, it's finding the right. And I told our group that we're working really hard this year on bridging that gap between the juvenile and the adult system. Juvenile system created their own reentry continuum, their spectrum of reentry services, and they did it very well. They did it early on in the 2000s. The adult system, we did our reforms later. Now we have a commissioner that's championing, let's bridge that gap. Let's break down the two silos, and let's work to make sure the youth never make it into the adult system when they come back home.
Yeah. Diane, anything, you were gonna say some things.
Oh, we talked a lot about the wraparound services, how beneficial that could be for an individual getting released from, especially young individual getting released from prison. So yeah, we focused a lot on that, and some of the reentry, like having reentry peer supporter, just a lot of that those kinds of things, citizen circles, yeah.
Yeah. So, that wraparound services, comprehensive strategic planning and reporting is part of that. Meaningful, positive relationships with peer supporters is critical to that. The elimination of duplication, I think, is a challenge for a lot of communities, right? I think that's one of the things that is very challenging in this model. And I think, system of care development, perhaps because care somewhat looks differently for folks, but I think we've been doing reentry long enough that there are just some kind of basic things for folks that we all kind of, in some ways, maybe those community expectations have been there for a while with that. So a question I had for folks is communication, I say, carries connection, collaboration, and culture. And those are three critical things that we have to look at. Did you guys identify any communication gaps that need to be filled? And that's kind of going to that third box there. Like, how critical is communication in moving towards this cross-system work?
I think really important, especially if you have two different people. I mean, people doing just juvenile focused work and just adult focused work. And if you want to have that cross system, we need that communication line opened up. And that's what we've been trying to work on here in Lucas County more intentionally this past year. But it takes time.
Yeah, it does. Yolanda, were you going to say something?
I agree. I think Tom said it really well. I think communication is important in knowing which connections to make, who's doing what, and when there are resources out there that could be helpful, if we don't know how to make those connections, we can lose time and lose traction. So that's really important, that we build our connections, and we keep throwing that so we have a very wide net to know who's providing what services and what would be beneficial.
Yeah, connection makes it accessible, right? I mean, that's the currency of relationship, of accessibility, and all of those things. So yeah, and Janelle posted, getting the right people at the table is one of the most important things DRC does, reentry does. So that is critical. Aimee, I would love to hear from you, like particularly in rural communities, because I know with the work that I've done in rural communities, there's just this concept and this structure, community structure around, like, if you're not in the county seat, right, then things are not as accessible. And transportation, it's always a need. Every community has transportation as a need. But for rural communities, there's not things like bus systems and those those kind of things. So when you think about rural communities as well, the tendency is a little more isolation, a less, you take care of those within the very small pocket of your community, but then communicating outside of that's not as well developed in some ways. So I was just wondering, for you, communication, how do you foster communication in rural communities?
Again, it's having those right people at the table, and working with what you do have available. I can recall working with our DD system. They had handicap accessible buses, and they made those available for county transportation, and that's how they started a county transportation, was with the DD buses, and it kind of evolved into its own system. They were able to, because they were able to serve everyone, and then they were able to transport people where they needed to. But again, it's that it's having the right people at the table and being able to openly share what it is what you need.
Okay, great. Okay. Somebody, bless you. It sounds like somebody's sneezing somebody sneezing somewhere. So my next question is for all of you, and some of you, like Tom and Diane, you both have been reentry coalition leaders, and FCFC folks are those leaders within community around the work that you do. But coordination requires some entity, right, to lead the coordinating effort, to kind of be like the backbone of the body, right? And everything we know in our body, structurally, everything kind of runs, the nerves and all of that runs through the backbone. And so how do we identify an individual or an organization that is already that may already be serving as the backbone of the collective work? Like, how do we identify that? And if there's not somebody or some entity that is serving in that way, how do you develop that? Any thoughts on it? I mean, because that is a conundrum.
Yeah, I'll tell you, our coalition back in 2013 approached the city and the county because they're all volunteer. There's not one paid reentry position. And the city and the county funded this position that I'm in. I wasn't the first one in this position, but it was with the understanding the funding would be for 1 year and it would have to be self-sustaining afterwards. So it's been self-sustaining through grant funding. We've been very good at finding grants and self-sustaining it. But myself, Chris Stewart with the Adult Parole Authority, she's the reentry coordinator there. So we're paid to do this work. So it works a lot better when you have a person in that position that's paid. We have our Going Home to Stay program that we both coordinate. We're at all the meetings. So I think that helps a lot as, having a dedicated reentry coordinator, whether it's funded through the general fund, through a levy, through grant funding. You almost have to have that, because when you have an agency that's doing reentry work, their focus isn't the community. It's on the people that are serving through their agency, billing Medicaid or whatever. Where my view is more broader and I'm not providing direct services. So it's worked well here, I think.
Any other thoughts on that? It is true, right? I mean, if you can have a dedicated, and that's what the backbone is. It is there is a dedicated person to the collaborative, making the collaborative work happen.
Yeah.
Aimee, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was gonna jump in here and say, I mean, we see that with Family and Children First Council. So for the councils, they're all different levels, just like reentry coalitions, all your coalitions. When you can have a paid full-time person leading that work, I think you can see some better outcomes versus part-time, and you're wearing many hats. You're trying to do all of it on, very limited. So I would definitely agree with what Tom said. A paid position, full-time, dedicated to this particular work is what is needed to probably find more success.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's just the reality of it, isn't it, folks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other thoughts around, and it doesn't necessarily have to be about this model, but what can we, how can we move forward from here in a way that's going to foster that connection, that commitment through connection, for collaboration. Woo, I love my alliteration. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with 3 questions. What assets can you identify in your community that can be mobilized right now? Don't get hung up on what you need in order to make the greater impact. What assets, every community has some, what assets do you have in your community right now that can be mobilized? And we heard today, it can be one person. One person can make a tremendous difference. It can be one credible messenger. It could be one judge. It could be one trade institute or one group of people that want to make a difference through their businesses in the marketplace or whatever it is. So what are the assets? You have to identify the assets you have right now to mobilize. Can you then explain to them why it's important that they be part of the coordinated effort? And can you articulate clearly what you are expecting them to do? As Aimee said, and as Tom said, you know, it works better if there's somebody who can be dedicated, because if it's an individual, right, everybody's got a lot of hats that they're wearing. Every person who's coming home has a lot of different things and systems and processes that they're having to navigate as well, right? So you have to be very clear, communication, you have to be very, very clear on what you're expecting people to do. Not necessarily what you're asking them to do, but kind of what you're expecting, because expectation has accountability, which goes back to the model that Director Tucker and Aimee explained to us, right? So expectation leads to more accountability than just asking people to, well, could you, would you, that kind of thing, right? Lower expectations than an ask. Asking with the expectation piece is critical. All right, we are 6 minutes over time. Thank you all for continuing this afternoon for the discussion. It was a phenomenal day. On my end, at least technology-wise, it was a phenomenal day. So, but more than that, just wanted to thank you all as participants for being part of this community. If you have signed up for a regional site, you will get an email from me. If you have not already gotten an email from your site host, if you have not gotten that, you will get an email from me probably in the next hour. About arrival instructions and all of those kind of things. So be on the lookout for that. Again, thank you to our presenters, our facilitators, everybody who has made this work, our planning partners, our sponsors. It is always a joy and a delight to spend 2 days with our reentry community in the state of Ohio, building community, building connection, building collaboration. Tom, as the president of OLARC, Ohio Association of Local Reentry Coalitions, would you like to say anything?
I would just say thank you for all the work you've done throughout the year, throughout the last 5 years organizing these. You do a phenomenal job every time. For those of you that don't know, there's many meetings that go into creating this, and Reba is able to pull all those together, and we just greatly appreciate that. So, and we're looking forward to our host site tomorrow because we have folks from DYS coming, folks in the juvenile court, and we can continue that collaboration to better communicate between the two systems. So I'm really looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, me too. Yes, thank you. All right, friends, go enjoy the rest of your afternoon. The rain has stopped here in Columbus, so get out there and do some nature soaking for a little bit. Refresh yourselves. Have a great day. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Reba. See everybody.
Bye. See ya. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Yolanda. Good to see you, Brian.